Welcome to Tabletop Battle Adventures, D-Day, 1530 hours, turn 31, military summary video. It's been an epic adventure. I think we'll go over the objectives first. For both U.S. and German forces, the main objective is Carentan. Currently, the Germans still control Carentan. There's not many defenders left. We'll start with the 6th Fallschirmjäger. Medium mortar, positioned in the courtyard. Third section leader, just behind the doorway. Third section soldier, about 6 inches away. Inside of this building, there's a Panzerschreck gunner, second floor, behind the window on the left, but he's bleeding out in 3 turns. There's no one near enough to stop the bleeding. This will all be 6 Fallschirmjäger for now, and I think that's all the 6 Fallschirmjäger defenders. And we'll move over across the bridge, which, by the way, this bridge is also a main objective. The other bridge was destroyed earlier in the fight. Behind the Panthers, a 6 Fallschirmjäger second section LMG gunner. Wow, there's been so many casualties. Moving this way, in the building here, there's the second section LMG gunner, the other second section LMG gunner. And then there's only one more soldier left, and he is inside of this building facing off against the 2 Rangers from 2nd Rangers, 1st Platoon, 2nd Squad. And this is the 6th Fallschirmjäger platoon leader, First Lieutenant Reese. We'll take a look. There he is. And that is it for 6th Fallschirmjäger. Last turn they took 4 more KIA and 42 overall in the fight. And this is a platoon of 6 Fallschirmjäger. They have 1 wounded soldier that I already mentioned. And while we're here also about the objectives, there's a river lock center screen. It's been open the whole battle. It's flowing this way through the armor battle under the destroyed bridge, and the green fields are flooded. Infantry advance, no run, and no vehicles. Once the river lock is closed, D3 plus 1 turns later, the green fields will be normal movement. These 2 brown fields, normal movement. Hedgerows block line of sight unless there's a wall along the hedgerow or along the river. Let's go to the 1058 Grenadiers, who've been battling the 506th since 0-100 hours. And the 1058 Grenadiers took 2 more KIA last turn, 33 overall. We'll take a look. They're all the survivors are in this building center screen. There's actually only 2 soldiers left. It's actually the platoon commander, First Lieutenant Kreutner, and his radio operator center screen. 1058 Grenadiers been fighting off the 506th and now the 2nd Armored Division, 2nd Rangers, and 116th Infantry. Mostly it's the 2nd Rangers and 2nd Armored Division that are storming the 1058 Grenadiers headquarters building here. And now we'll move on to the few survivors of the 916th Grenadiers 2nd Platoon who arrived here at Carentan and the hedgerows after fleeing Omaha Beach earlier in the battle. 916th Grenadiers 1st Platoon is completely wiped out. 53 KIA in the fight, most of those on Omaha Beach. 916th Grenadiers 2nd Platoon still has a few soldiers here. Platoon commander's radio operator, center screen. And their 1st Section LMG team working their way up to reinforce where they're needed. And we got to get to the other side. And the 1st Section leader in the ruined building center screen. And that is it for the 916th Grenadiers 2nd Platoon. They've had 43 KIA overall, again, most of which on Omaha Beach, and 0 KIA last turn. And lastly, the Panzer Lehr Division, who came in late in the battle to reinforce. And we'll start with the Hauptmann. This is the Panzer Lehr Division company commander and the King Tiger facing off against the 2nd Armored Division's company commander, captain, in the tank center screen. And the Panzer Lehr Division they've had this half-track number 1. It's got pin markers to deal with. And then we have the Panzerwerfer 42, who has an artillery strike called in on their position. And it was called in by the 116th Infantry Forward Observer center screen, the radio, and his fellow observer is wounded, bleeding out 2 turns. Continue with Panzer Lehr Division. We have 1 Panther left guarding the bridge. Knocked out the Sherman last turn. Panzer IV still in the fight. And that's it. There's been massive losses in the arm. Oh no, there is one more. Half-track number 2. Center screen. So Panzer Lehr Division took 1 new destroyed tank last turn, which was the Panther tank number 2. And they've had 7 of their tanks knocked out since arriving here in Carentan and Hedros. The Germans overall in this entire battle have had, well, let's go last turn, 7 new KIA and 178, including the 7 destroyed vehicles. And actually, there's 3 other destroyed vehicles they're on the list. And it's this half-track here, flipped over. The half-track here, but these were from 100th Panzer earlier in the fight. They wiped out. And then the Puma center screen. So the Germans, 7 new KIA, including the destroyed Panther last turn, and 178, including destroyed vehicles overall. 1 wounded soldier, and 9 total saves, where they revive soldiers. So we'll go over that now. When a soldier's wounded, you roll a d6, and whatever the d6 says is how many turns till the soldier bleeds out. A medic on a roll of a 4 up can stop the bleeding and the soldier's revived. And any other soldier on a roll of a 5 or a 6 can stop the bleeding. Move on to the U.S. forces. Start with the 506. They've been here fighting the longest. We'll have to go to the other side to see the 506 current commander. And before we move on from the Germans have no units starting on ambush, and I believe that's the first time this entire battle. I'd have to check my notes, but I believe so. So on to the 506. They've been here battling since 0 hours. They've taken massive losses. They've actually lost the most soldiers of any platoon. So the 506 platoon platoon commander, Captain Carey, starting on ambush. 3rd squad assistant leader, Sergeant Brandon, with Colonel Sink's radio operator. Colonel Sink was killed early in the fight. And those 4 506 soldiers there. Then there's a 2nd squad LMG gunner who now has a 2nd Ranger, 2nd platoon, 2nd squad assistant leader acting as his loader. Moving this way, we have 2nd squad leader Sergeant Braden, who may be jumping in that Jackson to help fill in the crew, since they're down to 2 crew members in the Jackson. I think that might be all of the 506 soldiers that have survived. Oh, nope, there's another. Down here we have a light mortar loader, center screen, who joined the M5 3-inch gun crew. And while I'm here, the green D6s represent grenades held by U.S. forces, and the brown D6s represent grenades held by the German forces. And when soldiers are killed, the grenades stay on the body and can be picked up by either side and used. I think there's other 506 soldiers on the other side. 506, the medium machine gun team, number 2 medium machine gun team, positioned here, center screen, and first squad assistant leader with the 6 grenades. He just revived the 116th Infantry First Squad Bazooka, who's now facing off against the King Tiger. And then lastly for the 506, right here we have a First Squad LMG team. So their platoon has taken massive losses. The 506 have had 59 KIA overall in the battle, and they've had 0 KIA last turn, though. Let's move on to the 116th Infantry. Currently, I think that their highest ranking platoon leader at this point is going to be the platoon guide and radio operator, who was the platoon commander's radio operator. Then I already mentioned, there's 3 116th Infantry soldiers here who joined the 3-inch AT gun crew commander. The commander's right here, center screen. Continue with the 116th. 2 first squad soldiers moving their way from, they knocked out some Germans that were here, now heading back toward the fight. 116th Infantry's forward observer, 1 soldier wounded, the one with the radio still in the fight. 116th Infantry sniper will start on ambush. 116th's first squad bazooka team, bazooka man, he's just revived. And then we have another 116th Infantry third squad bazooka team, and their heavy machine gun just in front of them. And then 116th's first squad leader has moved up here. I think the other 116th soldiers will be on the other side of the battlefield. I think that actually that's going to be it. That's all the 116th Infantry. Let me take a peek at this wounded man here. 116th Infantry's second squad soldiers bleeding out here, floating down the river. He's bleeding out 1 turn, so he's pretty much done for. The 116th Infantry made a swimming attempt to get into Carentan, and as you can see, everyone's dead, floating down the river. They took a lot of losses. That was their assignment, though. Some of the 2nd Rangers, 2nd Platoon, had the assignment of jumping out of this half-track and heading in this hedgerow to go for the other bridge. And they're down to 1 man remaining in the half-track. Oh, let's not move the 2nd Rangers yet. So out of the 116th Infantry, 1 KIA last turn and 42 overall in the fight. Most of those were on Omaha Beach and the swim team swimming into Carentan. They have 2 wounded soldiers currently, the one floating down the river and the forward observer that I showed over here. You can vaguely see the red wound dice. Now we'll move on to the 2nd Rangers, 1st Platoon. And they took no new casualties last turn, 31 overall in the battle. And the 1st Platoon soldiers, there's not very many of them left. Like I just said, they've lost 0 last turn, but 31 overall in the fight, most of which on Omaha Beach. And here's the survivors of the 1st Platoon of 2nd Rangers. 2nd Squad Leader on the hedgerow. 2nd Squad Assistant Leader at the window on the left. And 2 more 2nd Squad soldiers. 1st Platoon 2nd Squad soldiers at the window facing off against the 6th Fallschirmjägers Platoon Leader, 1st Lieutenant Reese. And then I think that's it for 1st. That was terrible. So they don't have very many soldiers left in the fight. Now on to 2nd Rangers, 2nd Platoon. They're a bit spread out. Like I mentioned, there's a 2nd Platoon, 2nd Squad Assistant Leader acting as the loader for the 2nd Squad LMG gunner from 506th. There's the flamethrower team here that knocked out the Panther. Epic. And let's see if we can find a couple more. I know there's a few more survivors over here shooting it out with the 6 Fallschirmjäger soldiers that are still in the fight. We have 3 2nd platoon, 2nd Squad Rangers, assistant leader, 2 riflemen. And we have the 2nd platoon sergeant. He's starting on ambush. That makes a total of 3 U.S. units starting on ambush. And then there's the 2nd platoon, 2nd Squad leader, who's in half-track number 2, center screen. There he is. That's all the Rangers from 2nd platoon. 4 new KIA last turn, which they got wrecked here in the hedgerow. All 4 of them was I think they all died from the Panzerwerfer 42s, our rocket barrage. It was devastating. And the 2nd Ranger, 2nd platoon took 4 new KIA last turn and only 18 overall. That's why they have quite a few more soldiers in the fight still. And lastly, 2nd Armored Division. The company commanders, we'll start over here. There's the company 1st sergeant here in the Sherman. 2nd platoon leader in the Jackson, with only 2 soldiers in the fight right now, which is why we're thinking about having the 506 2nd platoon or 2nd Squad leader, Sergeant Braden, jump in there and help out. We've got the Sherman T-34 Calliope, who has a main gun turret jammed, but was responsible for immobilizing this Panther and jamming his turret. The half-track number 2 that dropped off the 2nd platoon Rangers that got wrecked. And let's see, moving this way. There's the half-track number 3, just reversed to get away from the King Tiger. And then there's the 50 cal, quad 50 cal, multiple gun half-track motor half-track motor cage. I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, quad 50 cal is what's important. It's an incredible weapon. We'll go to the other side to see the rest of the 2nd Armored Division. All right, we got the company commander. And then we have a Sherman with the dozer blade attached. He's immobilized with a turret jam, open-topped, so he can still be of some assistance. The critical fight over here, the 2nd Armored Division really doesn't have the power to take on that King Tiger from the front, but there is also the 2 bazooka soldiers. So we have 4 anti-tank weapons here to fight off 1 King Tiger. I'm trying to get around to the flank of the King Tiger, or the rear would be even better. And the 2nd Armored Division had 1 more tank knocked out last turn. Right here, the Sherman, which I know is a Pershing, but I'm running it as a Sherman. And the Panzerlehr Division lost 1 tank last turn, so does 2nd Armored Division. And they both have lost 7 armored vehicles overall in the fight. And the U.S. forces lost 6. They had 6 soldiers KIA last turn, and including one of those is the knocked out Sherman. So in total, for the battle, the U.S. forces have lost 157 KIA, including vehicles destroyed. They have 2 wounded soldiers currently, and they've made 19 saves, including 1 save last turn, which was critical, as I mentioned, was the 116th Infantry bazooka soldier with bazooka. And then the Germans lost 7 new KIA, including the destroyed Panther, center screen. And they've lost 178 overall, so 21 more KIA and vehicles destroyed for the Germans than the U.S. forces. And the U.S. have saved 19 compared to the Germans saving only 9. So that alone would have brought the total casualties a little closer. But that being said, the U.S. forces started the battle with 100 order dice, and the Germans started with 77. And the U.S. forces are down to 33 order dice. So they've lost 67 order dice in the fight, and the Germans started with 77, and they're down to 17. So actually, the Germans have only lost 60 order dice in this fight, where the U.S. forces have lost 67. But now that we're really locked into an attrition battle here, the fact that the U.S. have lost more order dice, it may not turn on them. It may not matter because the Germans started with fewer dice. So no German unit starting on ambush, 3 U.S. units starting on ambush, and the artillery strike first before we get to the ambushes and before we get to the first dice of this turn. So the U.S. forces definitely have the initiative for this 1530 hours, turn 31. We'll have the artillery strike followed by up to 3 ambushes before the Germans get to possibly act. And when it comes to officers or NCOs giving out orders, the soldier can give an order out to any unit, officer or NCO that's equivalent in rank or lower rank. And if there's a radio, either in a vehicle or a handheld radio, then that leader can radio other units with radios. The rules that I'm playing this game by are mostly 2nd edition bolt action, my favorite game, and then some house rules I've developed over the last 2 years of playing this game. I think it's been 2 years now. And then just throughout my tabletoping adventure, throughout my life, where I've just been adding certain rules here and there, the wounded soldiers, weapons being able to shoot more closely to their real distances in real life rather than limiting, say, a LMG to 36 inches. It's just completely unreasonable. So line of sight for LMGs, MMGs, shoot the whole table, whole battlefield. And total left, U.S. order dice 33 and German 17. I'm going to play this battle out until either U.S. or Germans have no more armor or anti-tank weapons, so bazooka, Panzerfaust. So once either side has lost their armor and anti-tank weapons, then we'll say that the side with no armor will retreat off the battlefield. But as long as there's still armor for both sides, then there's a chance. And the main goal for the U.S. forces is to get a foothold into Carentan. And of course, I suppose the main objective is to kill Germans, and for the Germans to kill U.S. soldiers, but also to defend Carentan and the one remaining bridge. And I think I remembered everything. In about 3 days, I will be back to the action. We will begin with the artillery strike roll, followed by the U.S. ambushes, and then to the first order dice of this 1530 hours, turn 31. Should be the decisive turn, I think.